You just handed over a piece of paper for a cup of coffee. Nobody questioned it. The barista didn't ask why. You didn't ask why. But that piece of paper is worth nothing. It has no calories. It can't keep you warm. And yet an entire civilization runs on the shared belief that it matters. That belief is the biggest illusion humans have ever created, and it's older, stranger, and more fragile than you think. For most of human history, there was no money at all. Anthropologist David Graeber spent years studying ancient economies, and what he found broke the story you were taught in school. You were probably told that before money, people bartered. A farmer traded wheat for shoes. A fisherman traded fish for tools. Simple, direct, logical. It almost never happened that way. Graeber's research showed something far stranger. Most early human communities didn't barter at all. They kept track of who owed what. A neighbor remembered. A village remembered. Debt existed before currency. Memory was the first economy. Think about that for a second. Before coins, before paper, before banks, your value to other people was stored in their minds. Trust was the currency. Reputation was the wallet. So what changed? Cambridge anthropologist Caroline Humphrey dug even deeper into this question. She studied dozens of supposedly barter-based societies, and she couldn't find a single one where pure barter was the primary system. Not one. Every culture she examined relied on credit, gift exchange, or social obligation instead. The double coincidence problem made barter nearly impossible. You need wheat, I need shoes, but I don't need your wheat, I need a goat. Suddenly the whole system collapses. Humans needed something else. Something that could represent value without requiring two people to want exactly what the other had. That's where the illusion begins. Coins, shells, beads, salt. None of these things were valuable because of what they were. They were valuable because everyone agreed they were. Cowrie shells were used as currency across parts of Africa and Asia for centuries. A shell can't feed you, it can't shelter you. But if everyone around you accepts it as valuable, suddenly it functions exactly like value. This is the part your brain doesn't want to accept. Money isn't a thing. Money is a belief, held simultaneously by millions of strangers who have never met and never will. And your brain knows this, even if you don't consciously realize it. In 2007, neuroscientist Brian Knudsen ran an experiment at Stanford that revealed something unsettling about how your brain treats money. He scanned people's brains while they considered purchases. When they saw something they wanted, a region called the nucleus accumbens lit up, the same region that activates with food, sex, and addictive drugs. But here's the strange part. When they saw the price, a completely different region activated, the insula. The same region that activates with physical pain and disgust. Read that again. Spending money activates the same brain circuitry as pain. Researchers later gave this phenomenon a name: the pain of paying. Your brain doesn't just calculate the cost of something, it feels the cost. That sting you get handing over cash at a register isn't metaphorical, it's neurological. This is why credit cards change spending behavior so dramatically. Studies have repeatedly shown people spend more when paying with cards than cash, sometimes by a significant margin. Swiping doesn't trigger the same pain response as handing over physical bills. Your brain barely registers the loss. You are, quite literally, more willing to feel pain than to watch yourself feel it. Now, widen the lens. If money is just a shared belief, a kind of mass agreement humans collectively perform every single day, what happens when that belief breaks? History has answers, and they are brutal. In 1920s Germany, the Weimar Republic printed so much currency that prices doubled every few days. People burned banknotes for fuel because the paper was worth more than the money printed on it. The illusion hadn't physically changed. The paper was identical. What collapsed was trust. The moment enough people stopped believing the currency held value, it simply stopped holding value. This has happened again and again in different centuries, different countries, different currencies: Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Hungary. Each time the material stayed the same: paper, ink, numbers. Only the collective belief shifted. And when belief shifted, fortunes evaporated overnight. So if money has no inherent value, why does it feel so real? Why does it shape who you marry, where you live, how you see your own worth as a human being? Because illusions, when shared by enough people, stop feeling like illusions. They start feeling like laws of nature. Historian Yuval Noah Harari has argued that humans are uniquely capable of believing in shared fictions at massive scale. Nations, religions, laws, corporations. None of these things exist physically. You cannot touch a country's borders or hold a corporation in your hand. But billions of people act as if they're real, and that collective belief makes them functionally real. Money might be the most successful fiction humans have ever invented, more successful than any religion, more universal than any language. A 2,000-year-old Roman coin and a digital number on your banking app are doing the exact same job, representing trust between strangers who will never meet. And your ancestors needed that trust to survive. Early human survival depended on cooperation beyond your immediate family, beyond your tribe. You needed strangers to trade with you, to lend you grain during a bad harvest, to share resources during a drought. Money, in its earliest forms, was a tool for extending trust further than memory or relationships ever could. It solved a deeply human problem. How do you cooperate with someone who has no reason to trust you? You give them a symbol, and the symbol does the trusting for you. This explains something strange about how you treat money today. Why losing $50 feels worse than the pleasure of finding $50. Why a financial loss can trigger the same emotional weight as physical danger, even though no tiger is chasing you, no cliff is beneath your feet. Your brain evolved to treat resource loss as a survival threat, because for most of human history, it was one. Losing your stored food, your livestock, your tools could mean starvation. The stakes were once literally life and death. Now the stakes are a number on a screen, but your nervous system never got the memo. So every time you check your bank balance with a small flutter of anxiety, every time spending money feels like a tiny wound, every time you feel a strange pride in how much you've saved, as if you're stockpiling safety itself, that's not weakness, that's tens of thousands of years of survival wiring, reacting to a system your ancestors never could have imagined. You are using Stone Age instincts to navigate a financial system built on collective imagination. And maybe that's the real twist. Money was never really about wealth. It was about trust. Trust extended across distance, across time, across strangers who would never look each other in the eye. Every transaction you make today is a tiny act of faith, repeated billions of times a day, across the entire planet, holding together an illusion so convincing that almost nobody questions it. Next time you hand over a card or send a payment with a tap of your phone, remember what's actually happening. You're not exchanging value. You're participating in humanity's longest-running shared belief, a belief so powerful, so deeply embedded, that it feels less like an illusion and more like reality itself. You just handed over a piece of paper for a cup of coffee. Nobody questioned it. But maybe for the first time you just did.